Yesterday on Monday, the market sold off an incredible amount. Tesla down almost 16% in after hours trading. What in the world is happening? There seems to be so much fear in the market. Things continue to sell off. Things continue to stay red. Wow, it's been an incredible ride. What in the world's going on? Please hit the like and the subscribe on the way in. Let's get right into the video. Well, there's just so many things going on right now. We have a huge CPI or inflation report on the way coming tomorrow. I'm recording this on Tuesday evening. And the forecast is showing around a 0.3% increase or 0.3% for a broad array of, goods and services to the U.S. economy. And, which would put us on track for around 2.9% for core inflation. And core inflation at 3.2%. Now, the Fed has their target the whole time has been around 2%. And we've seen that, inflation was ticking down. The CPI reports were good coming out, and that's why they started to lower rates. I believe they've lowered them at least 100 basis points. But now here's the question. If we get a bad CPI report and say that, this is going to be around 0.4, 0.5%. Now that's showing inflation is ticking back up. So now what do we do when it comes to interest rates? Because remember, interest rates, if we lower interest rates, typically that eases that the money can flow easily, which when interest rates are low, higher risk on assets, money flows into those, right? So if we turn interest rates around, inflation's going back up. Now we have to raise interest rates. That would create crazy panic and fear in the market. So there's this crazy thing happening where it's like, the market is tanking because of the news on tariffs and the whole thing going on there. And there's so much FUD in the market. So now what happens with the markets are dropping and we get a bad inflation report? That could be it's going to be a really interesting report. And I'm going to be curious, and I hope to God that it lands at expectations or below, so that, there's not as much that would relieve a lot of fear and panic in the market. So I'm really anxious to see what this inflation report is going to be. Now, there's some good news. Ukraine has agreed to a U.S.-led ceasefire plan if Russia accepts. Now, that's the big question, which, Putin has said, he's open to it and, interested in a ceasefire. So if this would go through, that would create a lot of stability in the markets. So I'm really excited to see this headline. Now, what happens with it's going to be a different story. And some other good news. So when it comes to these tariffs, Trump said that he will not impose a 50% Canadian steel aluminum tariff tomorrow. Now, what does that mean? Is it, I'm pushing off the tariffs so that I can continue negotiating? Or is it, we're not going to implement this at all, right? Well, we've seen what's happened with the Mexico and Canada tariffs in the past is they said, it's going to be this date. And then, that date comes around and then they push it out some more. Now, here's something that's really interesting to me. Trump, in his previous term, he referenced the U.S. economy and that was his baseline for how well is the U.S. doing, was the U.S. economy. He compared it to China. He compared all markets to the U.S. We have the best economy, right? And then the other day he tells a reporter that, I'm not even looking at the economy, right? So do I call his basically, is he trying to play hardball right now with simply saying, I don't care about that, and deep down he truly really cares about it, but he's trying to play hardball to these other countries so that he can create negotiations. And these tariffs are simply just him playing hardball to try to get what he wants, and the tariffs are not even going to be implemented, or they're going to be implemented at a much lesser amount. Okay, so I find that really interesting, really interesting, because this term he's not talking about it that much, but I can believe that the man has got some pride in saying that, this is the golden age of America, and he's judging the U.S. economy and the stock market off of those things. And I think he cares a lot more what's happening than what he lets on, because he's trying to play ball with these other countries. Anyways, so this was a really good headline. And then also Ontario sends a lot of electricity, to the U.S. And they were talking about imposing a 25% surcharge on electricity to the U.S. And that has also been temporarily suspended. Now, there's other countries that are playing hardball, and I'll show you on the charts. Like, for instance, Tesla. I mean, people are shooting at Tesla. They don't like what Elon's doing in the government. People are in Europe. They're boycotting Teslas. They're like, don't even go buy one. And I heard this, and I've did some digging, and but I've heard that there are some small countries imposing 100% tariffs on Tesla. So there's a lot. It's like a all out war right now of other countries to the U.S. When it comes to economics and what's happening in the markets. And as you can see right here, of course, I reference this all the time, is the fear and greed of the markets. We're at extreme fear. And that's we're just hanging out at 16. I mean, it's just, things are, now we had a little bit of a bounce in some things today, and same with crypto. Sorry about all these ads. Crypto's in extreme fear. Now crypto, it was all the way down to 10. So we got a little bit of bounce. Now let's jump right into the charts. Right here is, and the market's closed. This is after hours on Tuesday. So the S&P 500, you can see I have these lines drawn out. Now, let's think about this for a second. So a market correction is typically 5 to 12%, right? Typically they say 10% for a market correction. Well, if we go look at this from its high, we are at, from its low point, we were right at 10%, and it bounced up. We're currently hanging out around here. So a little over 9%. Okay. So a pullback is 10%, and we can see right here, we were right at 10%. Now we bounced up. Now, are we just getting simply a correction, or are we going into a recession? Now, remember, by the time they call a recession, we're already on our way out of the recession. The recession is like over and we're recovering, right? So a recession, is typically over 20%. This is way down in this territory. You're talking, we're currently hanging out around 550. It could drop down to 450. It could drop down. These are all lines of support here. 418. You're talking a 31% correction. Now, I would say this is like worst case scenario, right? But there could still be, depending on this whole tariff war and what's going on here, there could still be some serious pain in the markets. Let's go look at the NASDAQ. Now, the NASDAQ's down even more. It's down at the peak. It was down around 13% or 13.7. Now we're at about 12.9%. And again, do we drop down to 17%, or do we drop down to 28% here? Extremely painful. But you have to mentally and visually prepare yourself for this. And I would say that, this is why I like looking at charts. I like looking at what's happening. Okay. Now, I am looking at buying I am a buyer. Okay. I'm a buyer right here. I'm a buyer here. I'm a buyer here. Right. This is a time, and it's extremely painful to buy something as it's going down, to just simply see it fall another 5, 10, 20%, whatever it is, buy some more and then see it fall some more. And it's just, but it's dollar cost averaging. You're adding to your position. You know that you're getting a better deal than at the peak, right? And if history has told us anything, we're going to have higher highs, right? And so if you look at these lines, right? What is this line? This is a higher high. What is this line here? This is a higher high. That's a line of support. Okay. We have a higher high here. We have a higher high here. So these are lines of support moving forward in the future. Okay. Tesla. Okay. Another one, absolutely getting slaughtered. And we talked about why that is, because there's just such a hate right now for Tesla or Elon Musk, and everybody's just boycotting it. So, I mean, the stock is just getting absolutely destroyed. Look at this. It's down, I believe, around 50%. 52%, 53%. It was down even more than that around in here, 55%. Now, I started, I'll tell you this, once it crossed below the 200-day average, moving average around the 255, 250 range is when I started selling cash secured puts on Tesla. If you think Tesla's good up here at 350, why wouldn't I think Tesla's good down here at 250, right? Tesla's good down here at 200. So at some point I'm trying to get in. Now, could it be extremely painful because what's going on with, politically and in the market? Absolutely. I mean, Tesla could still take some serious hits. But that's just what's happening. And you have to be prepared for it. Now, I will say this. There is so much money that's going to be made because of this. If history repeats itself, we're going to have higher highs, okay? We're going to have higher lows. So this is just, in my opinion, short term. Now, could this go for 6 or 8 months? Yeah, sure it could. I don't expect it to. Just based off of these headlines, I expect, the markets to start bouncing. And especially after Friday, in my opinion, I think we bounce. But what can happen? We could go down. But that does not create fear in my mind. Now, like I said, in the short term, it can be painful, but I will continue buying. I will continue to sell cash secured puts and dollar cost average in. And you have to remember, if I'm selling cash secured puts, I am lowering my cost average. So my cost basis is less than what it is today, right? So if the stock is at $230 right here on Tesla, and I sell a 220 cash secured put, well, guess what? I didn't buy it for 230, and I got paid probably $5 or $10 per share. So technically, my cost basis now is maybe 210. Okay, and say it falls to 200. Well, guess what? That's better. That's still better than buying it today at 230. That's why I'm such a believer in selling cash secured puts and covered calls. And you can protect your downside doing that. And you can just simply get in a better position on the stock. And that's how you make money. I really appreciate you guys coming by. Hit the like and subscribe on the way out. Thank you so much and have a blessed day.